The best chili dog in the world is the Coney Island hot dog, or the Coney Dog. But the thing is, it's not actually from Coney Island, and the chili covering it isn't actually chili. Adam, what the f are you talking about? You're a maniac. I hate you. Go die. Burn in hell. You suck. In fact, that deep red, delicious looking, super rich looking sauce that you see on a Coney dog is just that, meat sauce. And I'm gonna prove to you that meat sauce is the best thing that you can put on a chili dog. And really that all chili dogs lead to the Coney dog. This one's gonna get weird, to say the least. But first, a little context. So the hot dog is German, that part's easy enough. But that's pretty much the last thing that anybody's gonna agree on about what's arguably one of America's most beloved foods. Because everybody wants to be the hot dog daddy. Coney Island claims it, New York claims it, Chicago claims it, a guy in St. Louis claims it. And the thing is, they're all kind of right and kind of wrong at the same time. What actually happened was a wave of German immigrants showed up in the 1800s with sausage, more or less pre-installed in their bloodstream, and they really started slinging it in every city all at once. You get a dog, you get a dog, you get a dog, here's a dog for you, you? No dog, you don't get a dog.
It's not fair! It's not fair!
Poor guy, everybody deserves a dog. In the late 1800s, New York City was the mecca for most American culture. So naturally, in a pre-jet faring world, places like Coney Island were super popular, and hot dogs, new to the country, were popularized there. So naturally, the largest population center in the country, New York, is often associated with hot dogs, especially Coney Island, because that's kind of where they were, where the population would experience them first. But here's the bit that's torn families apart. Full drama. Oddly enough, the most American thing about the chili dog isn't the food itself, it's basically just the word chili. Because the sausage is German, the sauce is also not American, we'll talk about that in a second. The only thing on this all-American gas station icon that's actually sort of like natively American is the one word chili. And chili, real chili, a good old bowl of Texas Red, which we covered in our regional chili video actually, is about as American as it gets, having been invented sometime in the mid-1800s. So, not too long before the hot dog came to the States. You get it, chili is homegrown Americano. So when a bunch of immigrants needed their foreign meat sauce to sound like it was born here to appease white America and basically to sell more food, they reached for the most American word on the menu and basically ladled it right on top. This was the fake it till you make it era before that phrase even existed, right? And honestly, I can't blame these guys. In a pre-internet world, it was a lot harder to call a man's bluff. These people could basically say their food came from anywhere they wanted, name it after a place that sounded good, and there wasn't a single person alive who could pull out a phone and prove them wrong. This is, pre-security cameras and stuff. Just imagine how easy it was just to do stuff. If you're a bad guy, good time to be a bad guy.
Now I'm playing with power!
So who actually brought the sauce? Who were the sauce bringers, if you will? Which, all the way, would definitely be my medieval title if I could choose. It was actually the Greeks and the Macedonians. Quick little terminology sidebar really quick before we move on. When I say Greek and Macedonian immigrants, it's confusing because some of those immigrants were ethnic Greeks from Greek Macedonia, which is in the northern part of the country. Other immigrants may have been from Slavic Macedonia or other Balkan people. It was the early 1900s and there was war in that part of the world, right? It was a complete wreck. There was no work, and an entire generation of young Greek families get onto a boat to America with basically nothing. They get off the boat, and lo and behold, like so many other immigrant communities before and after them, nobody will hire them. Classic. So they take one of the few paths available to them at the time, and many open up food carts. The carts are cheap, the hot dogs are cheap, and they already know how to make one thing better than anybody around them. Well, the Italians might have something to say about that, but yeah. A meat sauce, specifically a meat sauce that many say is a riff on the famous Greek meat sauce called salsa kima. Salsa kima, fun to say. The same spiced sauce they'd spoon over pasta back home, which is known for its, super deep flavor and its warming spices like cinnamon, allspice, clove, that sort of vibe. That is correct. This meat sauce uses the exact same spices as your Aunt Judy's gingerbread cookies that she forces you to eat every single year and that you pretend to love because you feel bad that she's on her 5th boyfriend. And man, this one is not the guy.
What the hell is even that?
And because there was no Greek restaurateur group chat, that one sauce mutated into a dozen regional sort of chili dog-like hot dogs that are, every last one of them, lying about where they're from. This is hilarious, check this out. The Texas wiener is not from Texas. It's from New Jersey and Pennsylvania, and there's actually a guy in Pennsylvania who branded himself, and I promise this is real, Texas Jack the Wiener King. Yeah, the dude was Greek. Cincinnati's whole like cinnamon chili empire, right? The cheesy Coney, that's a different wave of Macedonian immigrants. Rhode Island built its beloved hot wiener tradition and named it, and sit with this here for a second, the New York System. Named after the state it's not even in. And while the New York System sounds like an industrial metal band from the late 90s, it's actually just a style and sort of like a style and category of restaurant that sells hot weenies. There's also one called the Michigan Dog, which is, you know, naturally from upstate New York. And that one's gotta be my favorite because it's kind of like this whole thing working perfectly in reverse. Because the most famous, the most beloved chili dog on the entire planet, the Coney Island dog, the one you'd swear is named after a beach in Brooklyn, is from Michigan. Yeah, we've been lied to. I don't know what we should do about it. Go out and like start pelting people with conies? Now, it's contested whether or not it was first invented in a small town in Michigan called Jackson or in the Detroit metro area, but we won't get lost in the sauce. However, within that sort of like Coney dog blueprint, right, there are indeed many different regional styles. Like in Flint, Michigan, which does a version that's dry, almost crumbly, a completely different animal. Other towns have their own too, but really the king, the one the word Coney really belongs to, the wet, beanless, sauce-drowned standard that everything else is measured against is Detroit style. And the story of the Detroit Coney is pretty funny. Basically, it starts when two brothers, both former sheep herders from one tiny Greek village, come to Detroit and open up a hot dog stand. And then one opens up another hot dog stand right next door, on purpose. One of those places is called American and the other is called Lafayette. And those two joints have been at war ever since. I'm talking like 100 so odd years. And believe me when I say that there are literally people in Detroit, grown-ass men, who've eaten at one of these two stands their entire lives and have never, not once, not a single time, walked into the other place. I've actually had the pleasure of visiting these spots a few years back on a road trip, and yeah, it was, you know, no pun intended, a trip. Yeah, the place is literally called American Coney Island, which is kind of a little on the nose when you think about like, you know, the people who opened these spots up and how they wanted them to sound and feel American, so the dude literally just named it American Coney Island. There you go. I mean, it's been around over 100 years, so joke's on me for thinking it's a weird idea. Places were insanely old school, and I sat right next to this dude who'd been going there for years, right? Back before the downtown got, you know, the facelift that it has today. When the area was a little bit, I don't know, a lot rougher. But regardless of one family's infinite tussle over which Coney reigns supreme, I think we should throw some respect on the tradition and do our best to make a Coney, you know, the proper way. And to do it right, we're gonna need one very strange, very unexpected ingredient. Welcome back to another installment of Ingredient Talk. But for real, there are some interesting things on the board. I want to talk about them. This is everything that we need to make our Coney sauce. I want to talk about a couple ingredients because they are a little interesting. At face value, it might look like we're about to make some chili, but what I'll say to that is, you know, if you have all of the ingredients to make pizza in front of you, you can still make a calzone. And a calzone and a pizza, as you know, two very different things. It's kind of the same energy we're working with today. For the fat, we're gonna use beef tallow, okay? Now, if you don't have beef tallow, you can use neutral oil in a pinch, but the classic sort of like Greek family-ran spots tend to use beef tallow, right? More beefy flavor. That's a theme here. We're gonna be driving home that beefy flavor in more ways than one. Classic, we got the apple cider vinegar, little brown sugar, Worcestershire McDurber sauce, garlic, tomato paste, and this is interesting, saltine crackers. Then we have some grated onion, juice and all, good old beef stock, again, beefy flavor. Then we have our spices here. Now there's a lot of spices going on here. I'm gonna leave these for you in the recipe below. You can check that out if you want. But notably, we have our warming spices, right? Those being cinnamon, allspice, and I like to sneak in a little bit of clove to my Coney sauce too. I think it adds just a little 1-2 punch. Clove plays really nicely with beef. Then Kind of a weird thing here, but when I was doing research for this recipe, a lot of places actually add a little pinch of cacao powder. It can actually be a super awesome ingredient that adds this like really unique depth of savoriness to a savory dish, much in the same way that these warming spices will add to our sauce too. At least where I come from, allspice, clove, cinnamon, those are reserved for cookies or apple pie or pie of sorts. I don't know, not meat sauce, but nonetheless, here we are, and it's delicious. Then, of course, the God particle, MSG. Gotta sneak in a little bit of that. For the meats, we got our regular 90-10 ground beef. Don't worry, it's lean, yes, but we have plenty of fat from the tallow. It's gonna be plenty flavorful. And this right here. This is the ingredient that I was talking about that might be a little weird, a little strange to some, right? But a lot of the OG Coney sauce recipes from the early 1900s and up to today call for beef heart, right? Crazy, kind of weird, right? I understand. However, this is just like an intense, beefy, kind of semi-irony flavor that when mixed with this more sort of like traditional tasting, like just regular beef, kind of adds this like interesting depth of flavor that you can't really put your finger on, and it makes the sauce really nice. It emulsifies nicely, and again, just adds to that beefiness, right? We're beefing up our Coney sauce at the end of the day. What I did was I just, went ahead and channeled my inner Dahmer. I grabbed the heart, I cut it up. It's a beautiful piece of protein, honestly. It looks so nice, and right when you cut through it, it looks like, you just cut into like an eye of round or something. Really just lean, beautiful beef. Cut that into cubes so that they fit in my grinder, ground it all up nice like, and boom, we have ground beef heart. Then the last thing, I promise, and then I'll shut up. This is not Greek and it's not traditional at all, but I like to add this to my chilies, especially for when I make a chili that I want to look a little like more dark, right? This is dark soy sauce, not to be confused with light soy sauce, okay? It's a little more viscous, it's a little thicker, and it really does kind of like act as an amazing dye, and it adds that kind of soy sauce element, which again plays well with beef, just adding a little bit of salinity and sort of umami from the natural MSG in this product. So yeah, I highly recommend it. I'll leave links below to pick this stuff up if you can't find it, but also like, you don't need it, but it is nice. Okay, let's cook. Oh yeah. We're gonna go with a healthy spoonful of beef tallow, enough to make up for our lean ground beef. I don't know, 2 tablespoons, something like that. We'll add in our beef, the beef heart, then we're gonna season all this with a nice big pinch of salt and a whole load of cracked BP. I did not add black pepper in my seasoning mix. I like to add it myself. A lot of old school recipes will actually add liquid to this pot first, then take the ground beef and sort of break it up by hand so that the meat is perfectly sort of like smooth and doesn't clump together, because this sauce should be like very saucy, without too many chunks. But doing that just goes against every single culinary bone in my body, Picked up a lot of lessons doing this the past decade or so, and we all know, we repeat it all the time on the channel, brown food is flavorful food. So I'm gonna brown this off a little bit before moving on to the next step. I don't have to go crazy here, but a little bit goes a long way. Now we can go in with our grated onion, liquid and all. And I'm just gonna also pop in the garlic. We're gonna simmer the sauce for a while now, so I want all that onion juice because it's flavorful, you know what I mean? As this thing cooks down, it'll start to evaporate and get, concentrate in flavor and reduce. So the onion juice is welcome. Just kind of weaving things into our beef here. We're really just beef weaving at the end of the day. TM, beef weaving. If you form a little pit in the center of your beef, the liquid will concentrate there and it will reduce off and boil off faster. And it'll be a lot easier for you to gauge. We're just gonna cook this until the raw kind of smell of the onion and the garlic go away and things start to smell a little more stew-like, maybe 5 minutes. All right, so now we can add in our spices, and there's a lot of these, and I like to add a fair amount because this should be flavorful, so don't hold back. I'm gonna reduce the heat down to about medium here. Okay, spice time. There's a lot of these. Cinnamon, allspice, clove, those are our main warming spices. We got some chili powder, paprika, cumin, celery salt, can also be celery seed, a little dried rosemary, dried thyme, a little bump of cayenne for a kick, and then pequeño cocoa powder, just a little bit. Yeah, it's probably good. A couple two-tree bay leaf, and of course, a little GP, MSG, just a pinch, maybe 2. On top of these spices, I'm gonna add in some tomato product in the form of paste, a little tomato pate in there. We can give that a stir. This is gonna change color. It's gonna start to smell incredible. It'll really start looking like a meat sauce here. And I like doing this because we're kind of blooming the spices and the beef fat and the liquid from the onions and everything. We're just kind of letting things linger and get to know each other for a bit before moving on to the next step. Also, that tomato paste working into this beef here is gonna caramelize on the bottom of the pot. Then we can deglaze and harvest that flavor. See, you don't need to add the liquid to get this beef super break apart. All right, now we're gonna take our saltines and crack them directly in there, along with our brown shugs, the McDerber sauce, a little bit of apple cider vinegar. This can also just be regular vinegar, like, you know, white vinegar, and a little bit of dark soy sauce. Now we'll stir this up once more before adding our stock. Yumbo! Starting to look like true Coney. You can see most of our liquid is absorbed here at the bottom, which means we're ready for our stock. All right, beef stock in. Now you'll notice things are quite liquidy at this point and a little loose, right? We're gonna do something in the future to fix that, but for now, this really comes together on the lowest simmer on your hob. Just, you know, I don't know, for at least an hour, probably a couple of hours, just really until it starts to concentrate with flavor. This will reduce, and if it gets too dry, just add a little bit of water. There's so much flavor in this, it's gonna be hard to dilute. Speaking of which, you better give this a taste. All right, what do we got here? Yum. Ooh. Okay. That cayenne added a bit of a little kick. I like the salt, I like the acid, I like the spices. It's a little spicy, but we can fix that later. Taste it now. You can add stuff if you want now, but this is gonna change and simmer and get better and deeper over time. So basically, it's good for now. We're gonna let it chill and come back, and then once this has been simmering for a while, we can give it a final season in terms of like salt, acid, all the good stuff. So yeah, now we play the waiting game.
1 hour later.
The thing about Coney's that I noticed when I had it in Michigan is that the sauce is very smooth, right? This isn't that smooth. It's smooth, but you know, compared to what I had there, it's not so smooth. So how are we gonna fix that? Well, with this. It's a stick blender, it's an immersion blender. If you don't have one, you can take about, you know, maybe a third of this mixture out, put it in your blender, then reincorporate it back in. Kind of a pain in the butt, but it does make a difference texturally. So I'm just gonna blitz this up a bit. Oh, but before doing so, almost forgot, dude. We gotta remove the bay leaves. You have done your job. Thank you for your service. Now, we don't need this to be a puree, but we want it to be pretty smooth. Beautiful. Well, I don't know if beautiful is the word, but perfect. Look at that. This is the consistency we're going for here. Basically, just kind of looks like a lighter colored ragu, if you will. Let's give it a final taste. Flavorful, just needs a few tweaks. Now, it's pretty spicy, so I'm going to add some more sugar. Remember, the recipe here, it's really just a guide, it's really just a starting point. You make this yours and you make this great by tweaking and adjusting and you're really cooking, right? Again, recipe is a guideline. So, a little bit more vinegar, not much. Maybe a little bit more than that. Beautiful. Jesus, a little bit more than that. All right, and it does need a touch more salt. Right, let's give it one more test here. Man, that sugar goes a long way. Beautiful. It's like Greek sloppy Joe. Okay, so the sauce is done. Cool, great. That's the hardest part by far. The rest of the dag comes together quite simply. Okay, we gotta talk dags, right? Hot dogs. Now, for a proper Coney dog, there's a specific brand that Michiganders love. They need it. They say it's not a real Coney without it, or at least many people do. And that is right here. I'll leave a picture of that right there for you. Because at the end of the day, and I might take a lot of flack for this, it doesn't really matter. What matters for the rest of us, you know, the majority of the rest of the world who doesn't live in the Metro Detroit area or Michigan, is that we use the best thing that we can find, right? I happen to live in a hot dog town, right? We're in Chicago. And here, we eat Vienna beef. These are just really good, natural casing hot dogs. Hot dogs, frankfurters, technically. Now, no, obviously, we're not gonna be making our own hot dogs from scratch today. I've actually done that before, believe it or not, and it's just really not worth it. Yeah, you can go check that video out. I'll leave a link somewhere, but it was a trip. But no, we're not doing that today. We're gonna use this stuff, the professionally made. You know, sometimes the robots can just do it better than we can. And when I say robots, I mean actual factory workers that make these. And matter of fact, I did take a factory tour. Not to plug myself too hard here, but I did go on a factory tour of this place. They're legit. Always have been. Always will be. Anyways, not trying to fanboy out about hot dogs here. What matters is that you use a snappy, high quality hot dog, right? I like an all beef hot dog. We're going with the beefy theme today with the Coney sauce, so all beef makes sense for me. And when I say natural casing, I mean a natural casing, right? Something that is made using an intestine of an animal, stuffed, and the sausage is made that way. So when you bite it, it's almost like biting into a meat apple that's shaped like a tube. But yeah, tasty stuff. We're really trying to avoid, you know, the 7-Eleven roller hot dog energy here. We want some snap, we want some life, we want texture. Texture is life. All right, this takes like a second. Ah, the sizzle of dog, AKA the Midwesterner's mating call. We just want a little bit of color on there, just warm them through, nothing crazy. All right, we got our meat sauce, some chopped onion, yellow mustard, and our eggs. I think it's TTB. Time to build. Each one of our buns gets a egg. Plenty of sauce here.
Dear God, it's beautiful.
A line of mustard each. Then we crush them both with plenty of white onion. Okay, we got our Coneys here. Very simple. Steamed bun, the meat sauce, mustard and onion, that's it. No ketchup, no sauce, no chili, no beans, no nothing. When I went to American, they actually serve these with fries too, where you can order fries and you can put the meat sauce on the fries. Really good. Also, when you see the dudes building this, it's crazy. Sometimes they have a huge tray or they put the dogs kind of on their arms here and they just scoop the chili. They take the mustard with a spoon, kind of whip it on so it's like a perfect line, hence like the line shape that we made, right? That's by design, just, you know, little extra brownie point of authenticity. Dog nerds we are. Okay, I'm gonna shut up, let's munch. Let's inhale this slop tube. Oh yeah. Ooh, it's like warm and kind of like supple and like squishy. This is where that natural casing is very important because that's basically gonna be the texture here along with the crunchy onions. But salud, I'm gonna move that platform. Oh man. I don't know if you can see that. The dog peeking in. I mean, that's nice. These are always served in twos, right? Like, oh man, what do they call it? There's a certain like way you order it. I think it's 2 up with everything. So it comes side by side because at the end of the day, I mean, listen, like I'm a fat boy, but also a grown ass man. 1 hot dog, it's just not enough. 2 hot dogs is enough to leave you perfectly full to the brim to the point where you're limping. So with fries, a nice crispy pop, because in the Midwest, we say pop. But yeah, dude, look at, I mean, I'm trying to show y'all here. I'm trying to show y'all the inside. It's kind of dark. Oh yeah, dude, come on. Oh, that looks weird. That looks like Blair Witchy. Blair Witch Coney. But yeah, dude, as you can see, not a chili dog. If this is a chili dog, then a calzone is pizza, right? Same ingredients, similar ingredients rather, but they're different. And it's kind of fun to get esoteric and I'm just dripping, I'm dripping Coney everywhere. One more bite. It's like a taco, you come to the Coney, right? But yeah, super tasty, super interesting history. And now you know a little bit more about a chili dog. That's not a chili dog. For some reason, my eyes like roll back in my head when I take a bite of that. Pure instinct. Thanks for watching until the end here, guys. Like the video if you liked it. Sub to the channel if you're new to the channel. Cop a shirt and support the channel on adamwitt.store if you can, if you're able, if you want a cool, sick, tight thread. Another really great way to support the channel is to just share these videos with your friends and family. You know, it would be cool to get a bunch of like-minded people kind of like in the squad, in the clique, watching these and build a little community here, which is what we're doing, and it's probably why you're here. But yeah, sharing is caring, and I would appreciate. That is all I got this week, so until next we talk. Take care now. Okay, bye now. It's a Midwestern accent. That's pretty like UP, Upper Peninsula, like Midwesty. Take care now, okay. Yeah.